Hello, my name is Shalise and my cause is Shalise's Ocean Support. I want to talk about the ocean and how we need to care for it, just as it cares for us. All my life, I have grown up next to the ocean. It's my playground, my happy place, where I swim, surf and explore. The ocean's magnificence has led me to want to protect it. One of my biggest projects are these fishing line collection bins. I did environmental studies in my local area and I was finding way too much fishing line. So I applied to my council to install 2 trial fishing line collection bins that are these ones. Because they were going so well, with my council I applied for a $77,000 litter grant and we got it, so I was able to install additional bins, also with a ranger to look out for the fishing line and also educational signage. Recently, I was chosen by Philippe Cousteau from Earth Echo, who is the grandson of the legendary explorer Jacques Cousteau, to be a part of his Youth in Action program. I got to launch this footage in Australia in the form of a virtual field trip. My project is united by my love for the ocean and also a huge appreciation for the marine animals that live in its waters, and also that it's crucial to our health here today on Earth. We are alive right now because of the ocean, and we need to make sure that we keep the ocean alive. Along the coastlines all around the world, we have the most beautiful beaches. But next time you and your family are enjoying some time at the beach, take a look around, because chances are you won't have to look very far to see some form of plastic pollution lying on the sand nearby you. This is the sad reality for most beaches now, because around the world we are dumping a garbage truck load a minute of plastic into our oceans, and it builds up over the years, so that the next generation of children inheriting our planet will never get to experience a clean beach either. The most important resource in the world is the ocean, and it's shared by billions of people all across the globe. In fact, 70% of the world's oxygen actually comes from the ocean, which is why it's called the lungs of the planet. Most people think the ocean is too vast and invincible to be affected by anything that we do on land. But sadly, our pollution is starting to push the ocean to its limits. So as a result, seals, whales, dolphins, turtles, and many more marine animals are becoming sick and dying because of this deadly environmental concern. So what's the problem? If you look around, you'll probably notice that plastic is everywhere. And I really do mean everywhere. The reason that plastic is such a problem is that it's built to last forever. Yet we only often use it for a few minutes at a time, and then it doesn't go away. Virtually every piece of plastic ever made still exists in some form today. This is an example of rubbish that I picked up at a local beach cleanup. All of this rubbish was picked up at one beach cleanup at 2 different locations. Humans have produced 8.3 billion tonnes of plastic so far. To put that into perspective, 8.3 billion tonnes is the same weight as 80 million blue whales. That's a lot of plastic waste stuck on our planet. It is also estimated that around 8 million tonnes of this plastic goes into our oceans each year, meaning that our marine life is swallowing more plastic than ever before. Sadly, the pace of plastic production is showing no sign of slowing down, and if these current trends continue, it has been estimated that by 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in our ocean by weight. Plastic has been slowly accumulating in our ocean since the 1950s, when plastic first began. And we now have huge amounts of plastics floating in the oceans and washing up on the once beautifully clean beaches all around the world. These ocean currents often push this plastic rubbish into a gyre. Think of a gyre as a large, slow-moving whirlpool in the ocean. Once it enters the gyre, it is slowly pulled into the centre, where it forms a giant garbage patch. There are 5 giant garbage patches all around the world, and the largest one is the North Pacific Garbage Patch between Hawaii and California. The patch is so big that it's now 3 times the size of France. The patch contains 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic. That's equal to 250 pieces of plastic for every human being on Earth. These gyres show us how we have literally dug ourselves into a plastic hole. And if we don't reduce our reliance on plastic, this can only get worse. In this container is a single-use plastic bag. The other is a model of a jellyfish. Plastic bags are one of the most common things found in our ocean, and to a hungry sea turtle, this bag looks very similar to its favourite food, a turtle. There are 7 sea turtle species around the world that have evolved over hundreds of millions of years. 6 out of these 7 sea turtle species are now listed as at risk of extinction because of plastic pollution. Straws. They seem harmless enough, right? What damage can one tiny straw really do? This is an example of seagrass, which is also a turtle's favourite food. Plastic straws can also look a lot like a part of a turtle's menu, and they can eat them, which can make them very sick. You might think that life in the skies might make birds safer from the dangers of plastic pollution. Sadly, no. There is so much plastic rubbish going into our oceans that around 90% of seabirds are now eating it too. And the rate is steadily growing as global production of plastics increases. An example is the albatross. These birds are more prone to eating it because they fish by skimming their beaks across the top of the water. And by doing this, they are taking in the pieces of plastic that are floating on the surface. And with 8 million tonnes of plastic going into our oceans each year, avoiding this fate is becoming more and more difficult. Behind me here is a display I made showing people how long until a plastic product is gone. Plastic water bottles are an interesting one. Around 1 million plastic water bottles are bought every minute around the world. And sadly, most of those end up in landfill or in the ocean, where they can take around 450 years to break down. It's sad to think that that is how long our plastic footprint lasts on the planet. These are samples of microplastics in nervous. When you look closely, you can't tell what anything once was. That's because once plastic enters our ocean, it doesn't keep its original shape. Originally, some of these pieces would have looked just like this actual water bottle, but over time, plastic becomes brittle and breaks down into tiny particles, which are called microplastics. These microscopic pieces of plastic are often mistaken for food by small fish and plankton, until ultimately they make their way back up the food chain and end up on our dinner plates too. So what's in this bottle shows why it's physically impossible to do anything about cleaning up the smaller pieces of plastic like these that have already entered our oceans. We need to stop them from getting there in the first place. So as I started learning more about this issue, I really did feel like I had to do something. Plastinction is a campaign I made up to make people more aware about plastic pollution. The idea is that one day, plastic will become extinct and not our beautiful marine life, which will keep them safe and thriving in their ocean homes. So think plastinction. Make plastic extinct in your life today. The thing is, if we stop buying single-use plastic, companies will stop making it. We have the power to make them change, and we need to spend our money on sustainable products. So make the pledge today. If you can't reuse it, refuse it. We need to go back to reusable living, like our grandparents once did. They had no idea what a single-use product or throwaway living was. They lived in a very eco-friendly community. Although the size of the plastic waste problem is scary, the numbers tell us that small actions, like being more aware of your plastic use, can make a big difference. Things like carrying a reusable water bottle, a reusable bag, a keep cup, a reusable straw and cutlery are just a few ideas that can help. Did you know that the average school child generates around 3 pieces of litter in their lunchbox per day? This equals a huge 30 kilos of rubbish from just one school lunchbox alone a year. We can have a significant impact of plastics in our ocean by simply having a waste-free lunch. A waste-free lunchbox contains food that can either be eaten, composted, or recycled, so there's no plastic wrapping or packaging to be thrown away towards the end of lunch. And by making the most of natural packaging on food, like for example bananas have their own skin, we can drastically reduce the amount of plastic going into our oceans. It is important that we as students take environmental education into our own hands. A great way to do this is to set up a green student club so your school can make a positive difference. Things like setting up a recycling and composting program, doing waste audits, organise cleanup and planting days, promote energy-saving ideas around the school, and spread the word about waste-free living to all students and families. And of course, an important one not to forget is that we can all pick up a piece or two of rubbish to help our Earth. Marine debris isn't an ocean problem, it's a people problem. But that means people are the solution. And together, we can turn the tide on plastic pollution, as individuals and as families. People often think that their actions on this planet as one person doesn't matter, but that's not true. Think about it. If every single one of us said no to single-use plastic water bottles, that would be hundreds of water bottles saved from going into our oceans today alone. This is how change starts. It starts with one person making a difference. We still have time to fix this problem that our human hands have created. We just need to think about using what's already here, and that means stopping the single-use plastic cycle. Just small changes every single day, because your actions today can have a big impact on tomorrow and can make a huge difference for our oceans and the amazing animals that call it home.